So as requested, I want to talk about my Vanguard index fund portfolio and do a deep dive on that. So at a high level, I love using low cost index funds, and the two most popular ones are Vanguard and Fidelity. I've used both. I just started using Vanguard out the gate, so just to be consistent, I will talk about Vanguard. And typically, I use Vanguard for brokerage. I use it as a Roth IRA, and I use it as a traditional IRA, and I roll over all my 401ks from my jobs, because I had a lot of jobs, into my Vanguard account, just to keep things simple, right? So I have a Vanguard account and I have a Charles Schwab account. Um, the Charles Schwab account, I only use it because you have a pledged asset line of credit option, so you can take a loan against your index fund portfolio. Versus Vanguard, you don't have that option. So I have both for that reason. But in any case, I want to do a deep dive onto my Vanguard portfolio. So what I do, which I had to pause, but what I did before I paused was I would automate my investments through Vanguard every single month. So I dollar cost average every single month. I would set up a payment. Um, let's say $1,000 a month, and then I would assign how they're allocated amongst three index funds, right? So I do a three index fund portfolio, just to keep things simple. For me, I'm a big fan of just keeping things very simple, and the simpler it is, and the more automated it is, it makes it easier for your life, and that's how you truly build wealth, right? So you just automate it, then forget it. So let me dive into my index fund portfolio. So the first one, and let me refresh here, is the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Admiral. So this is VT Sachs, right? So VT Sachs, and I think the fee for VT Sachs and for all Vanguard funds is it's 0.04%, right? So it's a very low cost, right? Like most mutual funds are 1%. So, 1% fee compounds over time, too, and eats into your profits versus, a fee of 0.04%, which is way less, right? So you always need to be cognizant of your fees. And let me see if I can click into this to see if it shows me the fees. Um, just out of curiosity. No, it doesn't. So for the VT Sachs Admiral Fund, what you need to know is, I think if you invest a certain amount, and I want to say it's like minimum 3,000 or 10,000. I know it's a big gap, but once you invest a certain amount in that fund, you can go from the regular Vanguard Total Stock fund into the Admiral level. And the Admiral level is you have more money invested, and I think it's like cheaper fees, right? So maybe if the normal is 0.04%, the Admiral might be 0.03%, right? So you have that savings there. So the first one is the Vanguard Total Stock Market, and I currently allocate to that 60%, right? So 60% I allocate to the Vanguard Total Stock Market. So for me, I don't like picking stocks. I'd rather own the entire stock market, and over time, it's gonna go up, right? So this includes all publicly traded companies. I prefer the Vanguard total stock market over the SP 500 because SP 500 just has the top 500 stocks, but the total stock market has all stocks. So I wanted to completely diversify to make it very easy. My second index fund is the Vanguard FTSE All World, excluding the US Index Admiral Fund. So it's also VFWAX, right? So VFWAX. And this is basically the international, um, all the international stocks, right? So I have 60% in the total US stock market, and now I have about 25% roughly in the I'm gonna do my math incorrect. So 70% plus, oh sorry, it's 70% total stock US stock market, and then 25% is gonna be the international stocks. So this might include like Toyota, Honda, big companies are international, so you have a little international exposure, right? So 60% predominantly US. So stock market, 25% is going to be the international stock market minus the US. And the last one is the Vanguard Total Bond Market Index Fund, which is VBTLX. So these are just all the bonds, right? And this one I only do 5%, right? So this is a little bit. And, for me, I just do a little bit of bonds. Like, I'm younger. People do say that as you get older, you should have more bond allocation. But, for me, I kind of just like that 5% sweet spot, just for a little more stability. Because I don't know, that's just kind of been my philosophy. It may change later. But because I have like indexed universal life insurance, I feel like that's kind of conservative, like a bond. So I don't put as much in there. So, once again, 70% total stock market, 25% international stock market, 5% bonds. So if I automated, let's say $1,000 a month, then it'd break down those percentages every month, right? So 700 goes into the US stock market, 250 would go into the international stock market, and then 50 goes in the bonds, right? So I automate that every single month, and the dividends that I get, so the bond one pays dividends monthly, which is nice, right? And that gets reinvested. The international and the U.S. stock fund that gets dividends quarterly, and once again I reinvest that back in. So that's my stock portfolio, right? It's really simple. It's very broad. I don't like picking, right? I have all the stocks in the U.S. I have all international stocks, and I have all the bonds, right? I'm not picking anything else. You could do like a REIT fund, so you own a bunch of REITs in an index fund, right? So that's why I love investing in index funds. Like, you just automate it, you forget it, and you want to increase it. So let's just say, like, I'm putting in $1,000 a month, right? And let's say I got a 10% raise. What do you think I'm gonna do with my investment? I'm gonna raise it by 10%, right? And then I get another 10% raise. I raise it by 10% again, right? So what I did was, um, once I have a good reserve, and for me, because I own a lot of real estate, my reserve has to be about $150,000 to cover my real estate portfolio, right? And then once I'm hit $150,000, anything beyond that, I will basically invest, right? So I'll invest it into index funds. I'll invest it into life insurance. I'll invest it to maybe buy more real estate, right? So that's how I kind of strategize. So once I hit that point, I start maxing out index funds where, like, whatever money I'm making, I'm just throwing back into index funds. And then for me, index funds, I don't ever want to sell it. I want to like use the dividends to live off of down the road, right? So for me, even though I have a lot of money in index funds that's liquid, I don't touch it because I consider it as I can't touch this, and you set it, forget it, and that's how you build the true wealth, right? When you set it and forget it. So overall, hopefully, this gave you some value, and showed you how I invest in index funds using Vanguard, and the philosophy behind how I chose my investment portfolio. Once again, I'm pretty heavy into the U.S. stock market, little international exposure, and very little bonds, right? That's just my personal preference, but you can tweak those three bonds however you want, right? For me, I just think the U.S. stock market does the best, but you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So I do a little bit of international and then a little bit of bonds, right? To kind of balance that out a little bit. And I'll see as I get older, maybe I'll increase my bonds, maybe I won't, right? As of right now, 5%. So let me know if you have any questions down below. Let me know if you have any suggestions to my index fund portfolio down below. And please share this video with somebody who can benefit from this, and who's thinking about doing index funds. And I think I based this on Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game. I think it's like a very simple 3 index fund portfolio. And please share this video with somebody who can benefit, and like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you next one. Thank you so much.